Hey guys, what's up? My name is lvngmmrs and I'm here today to show you how I made my new track Breathing, which is coming out on the 11th of August this year. So it's just around 2 weeks, I think. You can listen to it on Spotify, iTunes, anywhere you ever want. And yeah, I'm just here to show you how I made it. So at first, just let us do a full walkthrough.
Take me where I hurt you for the last time. I think I could change for you. Sometimes all you need is a distance to find the truth. But I can't hold them back, I'm bleeding. Tears from you and me, can you see them? Never had I known what I'm needing. Hear me breathing. Passing by me, remember all I shared with you. We're colliding darkness for a moment. Our love felt rude, but I can't hold them back, I'm bleeding. Tears from you and me, can you see them? Never had I known what I'm needing. Hear me breathing.
So yeah, let's just go through it. I try my best to do it in English because I'm a German guy, German native speaker, and I have to do it without any cuts because I just have this cheap webcam. But nonetheless, let's go through it. Yeah, the text is written by me. The instrumental is done by me as well. The singing is made by a very, very good friend of mine. Her name is Fabienne. She also sings on my other songs like Fallen or Dark Horizon. If you're keen to hear it, just switch to Spotify and search for Living Memories or use my fast links in the description. Yeah, let's start with Breathing. First of all, I searched for a theme to use because I like this analog sound, some vibey sounds, some warmth. And so I searched for an analog sounding pad, and I started with a Diva patch, which sounded a little bit like that. I just have to make sure that there's no automation and effects on it. Yeah, as you can see, it's just a standard preset from Diva. I'm not sure if I have modulated it a little bit more or changed some settings, but normally I have to change a setting all the time because sometimes the decay is too long or the release time, so I just maybe shortened it a bit. And I'm always making sure that the internal effects are turned off, except the chorus at this time. but I'm using verbs on the whole group. So you see there's another patch, a silent patch, which I will show you in a second. It's this one. But it just plays the same melody. The chorus is also on, which is a fault of mine, which I'm just seeing right now, but that's not a problem because the whole pad group sounds well. So I'm just making sure that the delays and reverbs are off because I took them into a group, which I call pad here, mixed them into each other with an equalizer. I normally always use the Pro Q3 by FabFilter, which is the best EQ in my opinion, except outboard EQs, which I also have here, but I'm not using too much into the production, but in the vocal recording and editing. Yeah, that's the EQ from the Diva patch and the EQ from the silent patch, which was just a filling patch, so I didn't do anything. But standardized, I use my new tracks like this. So if I make a new MIDI clip, a new MIDI track, there's always a utility and a Pro Q3, so that's why it's on there already. Yeah, afterwards I put both pads into a group, which sounded like this. And they sounded really well together. I just panned them a little bit to the right and to the left to spread them a little bit more and gave it all a little bit more of a stereo field. And I choose the Valhalla Vintage Verb, which is also a very good reverb. So if I turn it on, it will sound even more analog and old school and vibey. And it also fills the room a lot. Afterwards, I make sure that there's also a good low end and top line melody over it. I will show you the intro bass at first. You can see here by this gain automation that it comes in from the start on. So it doesn't begin in like infinite to 0 decibels, but it has a little bit of a loudness, but you can't hear it if it starts. It just comes in slowly. And with the pad it sounds like this. And it just plays like the same notes, I think. Yeah, there's some slightly modifications to the MIDI file, which you can see and hear on some parts. Especially the ending is a little bit different because it plays a lot, not a lot, but a few more notes, just to keep the listener interested. Yeah, so it's just a Diva pad again, which I have probably changed a little bit. The microshift by Sound Toys, a little bit, just to give it this old chorus feeling, and a good bit of saturation, and some EQ settings to reduce the sub frequencies and give it a little more in the lower bass range. And there's also a filter up automation to the ending, that it just gets a little bit quieter and softer to fade into the first drop. After all of this, I just try to make an easy melody, but I also have to turn off all the effects. This is a sound that I made myself some time ago. I think it was for Fallin. I can play you just the sound with other notes. Just a small saw with some filter automation, cutoff automation. And with the right editing, so some saturation, an imager by Ozone, some EQing, the Echo Boy and Vintage Verb again. Maybe it's even the same setting as the pad. I have to look into it. No, it's not. Normally it can sound very clean and good if you use the same reverb settings in the same kind of group. This is some kind of intro group. So if you use the same intro reverb sound, it sounds much cleaner. But because of the very short notes playing here, a longer verb makes it more filled up. That's really important, that you don't have this empty feeling too much in the intro. Also some EQing and some automation to fade into the drop and fade out a little bit the volume. And together with the intro part, the pad and the bass, it sounds like this. I really think it sounds a bit old, maybe like some kind of 80s synths, but I really like it that way. And it's just some cool kind of opening. There are also coming up some drums that I made myself. I normally take solo shots and make them a loop, or just copy them and add them together. So I can go through the drums fast for you. It's just a very simple and not too loud closed head. Now you can barely hear it. Another closed head on the offbeat part. Some percussion on the left side, on the right side. Another percussion. Just to give it that kind of groove that you always need in almost any production. A fast head. A closed head with some kind of delay, right? It's solo, it sounds like this. Another hi-hat, which just makes some kind of groove. And the claps, which are really clean and there's just a little bit of a room reverb on them. Valhalla Room on the return channel A, which you can see here. And here, that's another clap. Some kind of snap sound. Open head. Another kind of percussion. Another open head. And a shorter, faster head. And all together it sounds like this. And I always make sure that every track in its own room is cleaned up by a kind of EQing. So normally, I don't know what hasn't worked out here. But maybe it just wasn't necessary as I put it in a group as whole. Which I did here. I don't do anything the same in any production. I have some kind of steps that I do, but in this in this area here, or this project, I just took a drum bus on it with a little bit of drive, some saturation, glue compression, and here is a EQ which does the whole thing, so it cleans up the low end rumble, which isn't necessary. On this kind of drums, if you have deeper percussion or darker percussion, you need the low end rumble, but in this drum group I didn't felt like it has to be this deep, so I cut it away, lifted up a little bit of the highs, and then again imaged it a little bit. You have to make sure that you are not too wide but not too narrow in the sound. I can show you how it looks. Just a little spread. If I turn it off, you hear it a little bit, because in the highs it loses that sprinkle sound, that white sprinkling. There's also another very, very short and small room reverb on it with just 10% of the mix, and some gain automation all over the track, just to make sure that it begins a little bit less loud, turns down to the drop, and lifts up later again. Yeah, that's the drums. I can show you the kick as well, which is also... Sometimes I use a kick 2 synthesizer, but in this case I try a lot of kicks. In this case, just a sample from Vengeance did the job. It sounds like this. So I also made sure that there is not too much low end rumble, not too much high harshness, because the drums are very harsh at some points and frequencies. So the kicks don't have to be this loud in the upper area. And I made sure that it's not too long with a inverted or trimming shaper box setting, so that the kick is shortened after 1/4 of the kick sound. Yeah, and with the drums it sounds like this. So it's very simple but groovy, I think. Okay, yeah. The next very important part is the main bass sound, which consists of 3 layers and a sub bass, as you can see here. I show you the first and the main bass sound, which is this one. This looks like a Serum preset that I bought or found anywhere. I think I didn't edit too much on it. I just make sure to EQ it properly, as you can see here. Give it some more room around the 70 Hz mark and cut away the ultra low sub frequencies. In this case it was very hard to get the bass in the right position from the stereo panorama, so I just made it mono, so you can hear it on any speaker type or any headphone type. But to give it a little bit of space, I just took a little bit other sounding bass and took it to the full right and full left position, which you can hear right now. And I destroyed everything with making it mono in the group, which is really stupid. That's how it should sound, but it later worked out in fully mono. Maybe I saw in the mixdown stage that there was too much going on in the lower bass panorama. So like I said, I always work that it fits in the end. If I see in the production process that it's not working out, I just turn on a utility with the mono. It's one of my most used Ableton intern effects. It's really, really good. Also the automation is really fast and easy to reach for, so I really like it. Yeah, and the sub bass plays, I think, not the same settings, but some longer notes to make sure that the bass is really sustaining and is hearable throughout the song. You have to make sure that you wear good headphones or use some monitor speakers to hear the low sub rumble. Okay, yeah, I can show you the kick, drums and bass at this point. As you can hear, I can switch the the normal bass group from mono to not mono, and you can listen and check for yourself. I think it doesn't make a too big difference, so it's safer to turn it to mono, because the bass is a lower frequency and it has to be heard all the time, so I can switch back and forth, but I think it's very well in full mono. So better safe than sorry. I turn on the bass also, the sub bass. Very nice. Yeah, to fill it up, I also used some kind of steps. They sound like this. I will turn off all the effects just in a second. It's also a sound that I made myself. I did a kind of lvngmmrs sample or synth pack. If you need it or if you want it, just write me a message or a comment and I can send it to you. It sounds like this. It's just a buzzing sound with a longer decay, and with the right effects it really sounds like a long, wide, Hawley sound, and it makes a perfect contrast to the short bass sounds. And it also triggers your interest in the melody at this point. So the melody plays some kind of the same notes, but it's more like a chord. So the bass notes play the lower chords, the steps play the middle chord parts, and the main melody, which I will show you in a second, plays the upper main notes. Yeah, so just let us switch to the main melody. I show you the full group at first. Yeah, the first one is a Serum lead sound, which I took from a pack, I think, without effects. Turn them off again, just for you. So that's the group effects and the effects of the first and main synth sound itself. It just sounds like this. Yeah, it sounds really, I think, like cheap, but you have to try to listen to the sound and imagine how it can sound with some kind of effecting. And also normally the presets also have some effects on. I think there was a reverb and delay on with it, which already sounds very good. But as I said, I turn them off normally and try to do it again in the group for the whole package, so that every synth sound has the same kind of reverb, same kind of delay. It just sounds cleaner and more like one sound for the listener. Yeah, I throw some saturation on it, EQing, and an echo. And the echo alone does a lot to the sound. And afterwards, a little bit of OTT, which compresses upwards and downwards, so it makes the sound more open, but it also squeezes it to make it louder as a whole at the same time. A normal standard compressor with a middle range ratio, another EQ, which is for the whole group. I'll show you the next sounds in a second. An imaging tool by Ozone again, another Echo Boy, a vintage verb, in EQing after the verb to clean out all the new coming frequencies from the verb, and shaper box just to do some sideshading. And the sound alone sounds a little bit too thin, a little bit too weak in my ears, so I fill it up with some other layers, which are the following. This one comes came to the last point of the production, because I thought there was some real digital synthesizing missing in the whole production, but the other sounds were kind of the first sound. Here I again used some kind of harsh effect, so I used one or the same synth, full left, full right. You can also delay it by a couple of milliseconds just to make it wider, but normally it is enough to spread it like a left and right, and you have a clear mono but stereo sounding signal. Then there's a synth patch with a little bit more of a decay, kind of plug. Attack. And the last one is sounding a lot different than the others. And that's always necessary to have some sounds that are not the same like before, so that they sound really fitting together, but give everything a little contrast, a little more interest for the normal listener. It can't punch out too much because it's so strange sounding, but sometimes it keeps you interested and makes it easier to get into the melody with some kind of unnatural and contrasty sounds, if you know what I mean. And the whole group again sounds like this. And you also can hear the difference between the first and the full group. I show you the first patch alone and then the whole group. Yeah, that's much wider, fatter, warmer, so it fits really good together. I show you all the elements that we had so far. So the kick, the drums, bass, sub, steps, and the drop synth. Yeah, it really sounds good as it is, but yeah, there are some kind of frequencies missing. So I also inserted some kind of pads here. The first one is this angel voice, which just is a Nexus standard sample. Amiga voice soft is the name. And also another Nexus set, the fog pad. They together with a melody, which is also Nexus, because Nexus is really fast to find what you're looking for. I turn off all the delay, reverb, effecting, put it in a group, play the melody, the main melody in this pad again. And done together, it sounds like this. And if I turn on the drop and add the pad later on, you hear the difference. Especially at the ending, you see that it just plays the same notes all over again, but in the last quarter it goes up those chord ladders, or ladder notes, I don't know how to call them, and this introduces the next part of the drop, and sounds much better with this pad parts here. Yeah, those are the main elements. You always have to add a lot of effects. The right is just the extended sound here. You have to add a lot of effects elements, which I can show you solo once. Or maybe with the drums, just to imagine the right placement. That's the drop part. I wanted to make it as clean as possible, and now at the second drop, third, there comes more effect. There are some ready-to-use effects from the Vengeance packs or Ableton packs, which are free and very, very good. And some others that I use. Mainly the Vengeance stuff, I bought it once years ago, and they are still up to the time today. You just have to use them in a very good combination. So use many fitting uplifters and downlifters at the same time, but not too much. They just have to add this kind of necessary space that you need. But they are not allowed to overshadow your main melody or your main idea of the song. And I also make some reverb sounds myself. So I took the drop sound. I can show you how I made it in a second. I'll show you the sound first. So it's really easy. I take the drop plug sound, the main sound, and just root into it. But I have to be quiet because it will resample my voice, I think. Yeah, sadly I can't do that, I think. Because it will resample my voice, I'm very sorry. But you just record a little bit of the drop sound, then you take a reverb, you flatten and freeze it, and then you turn it around. I maybe can show it to you with another setup if I use the other camera, which I'm just building up in the next days. So make sure to follow me. And this is the one for the drop sound. You can hear that it's the drop sound, but just reverse. I can reverse it for you, and you will hear it. It's just the drop sound, but with another reverb and some filtering, high pass and low pass filtering, and I think some kind of phasing. I did the same here. But I have used an LFO by Ableton and volume automation. And I just automated it and also freeze it and flattened it to a new track. You can see the LFO working here. Because of the automation, it didn't print very well into the extended and the radio cut. So I had to flatten it. That's it for the effects. And there's one more very important effect. It is this audio loop here. It's just the voice of Fabienne. I can play it. It's just a short sample of her voice. And I saturated or destroyed it, EQ'd it, took a compressor on it, and did a lot more of effecting just to make it very wide and to fill all of the other space. Because with the drop and with the sidechaining, it just gives a little bit more energy to the rest. Without a drop but with the drums and kick, it sounds like this. Yeah, so it's just a very important ambient sound, I think. I also can show you the vocal reverse effects that I took. They are also Fabienne's voice, but with, like I did the first reverse effect, with some reverb, high pass filtering, low pass filtering, chorus, phaser, and it just fades into the vocal, which is this one. Sorry.
Feel the rush of time passing by me. Remember all I shared with you. We're colliding in darkness for a moment.
Yeah, and Fabienne is a very talented singer. A lot more talented than I ever could be, production-wise, singing-wise, and I really love working together with her because she can sing a main vocal and then just do some overdubbing, and she even remembers that she has to leave out some of the transients, so the S's and P's, and it sounds so clean and perfect. I almost don't have to do anything to it to make it sound good, but I can turn off the effects, all of it, for you to hear the clean vocals, how they were recorded here in my studio. So the room that you are seeing on the webcam is my studio where the vocals are also recorded, and this is the clean vocal without anything on it.
Take me where I heard you for the last time. I think I could change for you. Sometimes all you need is a distance.
Yeah, I just made sure that there's no noise coming into the mic with the gate. The gate shuts off everything that's below predetermined threshold, so there are no snippets from the room when she's not singing. I de-essed it a lot to tame the higher frequencies. Used some compressor plugin, an equalizer, and autotune. You can't make a really big hit today without autotune, I think. Even live acts are using autotune on stage today. And the reason they use it is because normally you can't hear it. It sounds just so natural and musical. It's a perfect plugin for this. I can show you the vocals without and with autotune. So that's without.
Take me where I heard you for the last time. I think I could change for you.
And there's autotune on.
Take me where I heard you for the last time. I think I could change for you.
And it just did a little bit to it. There's also a really strange demo vocal from me beneath the main.
Take me where I heard you for the last time. I think I can change for you.
Just to give her a hint how to sing the song, because I wrote it and I did the instrumental, and she has to know how I wanted her to sing. So I have to make the demo, even if it sounds really creepy. So it's just very, very low with a lot of autotune behind her main vocal, but you can't barely hear it, and it's just to give her vocal some more low vibes. Then she made an overdub on the left and the right side to give it some more stereo space.
Take me where I heard you for the last time. I think I could change for you.
And afterwards I took the intro melody and put it into a vocoder, which is this. And all together the vocals sound with effecting like this.
Take me where I heard you for the last time. I think I could change for you. Sometimes all you need is a distance to find the truth.
The main effects for the group are just an echo boy with just a little bit of mix into the track, and the new super plate by Soundtoys, which is also really, really, really good.
But I can't hold him back, I'm bleeding. Tears from you and me,
with
can
the
you see
reverse
them?
effect, it sounds like this.
Never had I known what I'm needing. Hear me breathing.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I'm so sorry for my very, very bad English, but that's how I made Breathing, coming on the 11th of August this year, so in a few days. And I really hope that you will follow me. I make more of these tutorials and more of free downloadable package for you. And I show you the extended mix, where I just added some drums at the beginning and the end. And I thank you very much for listening to me, looking at my videos, and See you next time.
Take me where I hurt you for the last time. I think I could change for you. Sometimes all you need is a distance to find the truth. But I can't hold them back, I'm bleeding. Tears from you and me, can you see them? Never had I known what I'm needing. Hear me breathing.
Thank you guys.